Hey guys, today's video, let's introduce the project car that's on the channel. Had this car for about 7 years, so let's get going. What we got here is a 1973 Pontiac Ventura. Bought it about 6-7 years ago. Had a blown motor in it when I bought it, and a turbo 350 trans, and just a stock 10-bolt rear end. Came with different wheels. Had torque thrust 2s. Those are chucked right away. The offset was horrible. They had the back end hiked right up to fit them. Just took out the wheel well. I'm more of a low and wide kind of guy if I can. Low for sure. So I ended up putting a 400 small block Chevy that I had in a 3rd gen Camaro car before this. Sold that car, put the engine in this with a turbo 350. And it ran great. Went to the track, ended up running like 14.3s, something like that. Well, not even 13.8s actually. I think it was my fastest. And then a year later, I LS swapped it. Put a 6-liter LQ4. Is it 799 heads or the 258s? I can't remember. They're both the same anyway. Ran a Trick Flow 585 lift cam in it, put headers on it mid-length, true dual exhaust with Flowmasters that were on the car, so that worked out. Ended up putting a 4L80E in it. Again, the motor and the trans were used. Motor was kind of refreshed, so trans was just an unknown. Pay $500 for it, which is pretty much core value. It worked for a couple of years. Put a Phytech Ultimate LS system in it. A lot of people complain about it, but honestly, you just gotta make sure your install's right and you work on it, right? That's the biggest thing, is you got to keep tweaking it. And if you have issues, usually it's install error. So ended up blowing the trans last year in it. Finally, the bushing on the trans got pretty warmed up and got stuck to the torque converter, and leaked everywhere. So got a new one, brand new rebuilt, just updated internals, nothing special, no trans brake, nothing like that. Ended up doing 410 gear rear end in it, had 308s in it. So I had the 308s in it with the 3-speed, the turbo 350, and that's when I ran 13.8. Now I am at 13 flat. I cannot brake in the high 12s. It's a traction issue. I'm only running Falcon Azzinis. Where are these things? The AT615X tires. They're more of a tire for autocross. Sorry, they're super sticky though, so you know, great for doing quarter mile. Just not the best compound for sticking. Plus it's an 18, so you have no sidewall for wrinkle and whatnot for taking off. Good tire though. These are almost done actually. Did a couple spirited heavy foot burnouts yesterday. I'll post that clip here. Bit of carnage from it yesterday. Little bit of rubber. Never hurt nobody. Yeah, it needs tires all the way around. It needs an alignment a little bit too. The tires a little wore out in the front more than they should be. Acting like it's 4-wheel drive here. How wore out the front tires are. So we'll go ahead and pop the hood here. She ain't pretty. Let me get out of the shot here. She ain't pretty, but there she is. My cold air intake. 4-inch PVC. Used to get the hot air away. Before I had the filter right off the front, sucking all this hot air in. So putting it over to that cold side actually helped quite a bit. My AAT temps are down like 15 degrees. Like I said, nothing expensive, special out of it. Last winter, I ended up doing a F-body spacing serpentine system on the front, preparing it for a turbo system that I've ordered. So that'll be this winter's project. I'm going to pull the engine, clean up all my wiring, clean up the engine bay, maybe a respray. I gotta weld some of the subframe down there that I cut out for the alternator, box it in, just make it a little sturdier. Probably doesn't need it, but might as well have the engine out. I have a little leak on the rear oil pan area. I have to pull the engine and reseal that back up, and then put it all back together, and then put the turbo system on. Well, I did a little bit of cold side fabbing because the system I bought's meant for a first gen Camaro. Novas and Venturas have the same subframe and same firewall as a first gen Camaro, so it'll just be the cold side piping that kind of goes to the front. I'll have to manipulate a little bit, but the hot side should bolt up perfectly. And also last winter I ended up upgrading my fuel system from the Corvette style regulator and filter to an actual in-tank fuel pump, 370 LPH, which I'll have to upgrade to a 450 or 500 when I turbo it. Running a -8 to a filter down under here. Where is it? Right there. And then -8 up until my rail, and then comes out the other rail and goes into a -8 into the regulator, and then -6 back to the tank. Pump I have in it doesn't have a check valve, so hot starts, takes a little while to get fuel going again, but not too bad. Dialed that in pretty good with the Fitec. Just doesn't start up right away like a brand new Chevy would or something. Working on that step, got that wired in. I got so yeah, when I redid the trans, I ended up putting a Circle D 3600 single disc in it, billet. So that helped huge. Like honestly, before that, I was getting 14.3, yeah, 14 flat with the 6-liter with the 410s and the stock torque converter. Like I said, now I'm getting very bottom 13s, almost 12s. I could probably break 12s if I just tried a few more times. Car came factory with only power steering. As you can see, manual brakes. Ended up doing disc brakes up front off a first gen Camaro with tubular A-arms, which ended up dropping the car like 3 or 4 inches, to be honest, in the front, and I had to put a 1/2-inch spacer back under the coil. So one day I'd like to get coilovers for that and fix it properly. That'll happen. Future. Rear end, nothing fancy. Like I said, it's just a Eaton Posse 410 gear. Still drums. They're all rebuilt inside. Sorry, the rear end's holding up good. No issues there. True dual there. You can see it covered in rubber there. Has a new tank in it that I had to drill in and put a Holley top hat in it with a fuel pump. And the return. Let's go to the interior. Interior is car came factory with a bench, but they did have buckets in it. But honestly, I think they were out of like duster or something. So I ripped those out, throw these in that were in my 3rd gen Camaro. Pro Car scat seats, fit great. Honestly, next time I'll probably get them in fabric or like a suede or something, because pleather and black pleather in a black car with no air conditioning, she gets pretty sweaty, if you know what I mean. Gotta water down the back neck quite often. Just put a steering wheel on it, had the factory big old one on there. Ended up putting a B&M shifter in it when I did the 4L80 and 6-liter swap. Great shifter. So it's first to second slap, then you have to pull the trigger to go to second, third, and then third, fourth is just a slap forward. The red button is a line lock, locks up the front wheels. You can kind of see my Fitec back there hiding behind my homemade cup holder / stereo that I needed, because cup holders essential, right? So pretty much for these gauges, temp doesn't work because I have the Fitec to show that. Oil works. My oil pressure at like hot idle is like a 50, and then like 70, 80 when I'm giving her. So I'm gonna have to find a way to turn that down when I turbo it, because journal bearings don't need that much pressure. Fitec controller there, touchscreen. You can do everything you want there. You can shift, work it on the fly. You can tune it on the fly. You can record, so you can check your data later. Pretty good system. Back seat, that's the factory color is like a light brown, like almost white but light brown. This back seat folds down flat. Ended up putting all new carpet in it, new door sills when I did the seat swap. Rear bumper has a bit of a whiskey dent when I bought it, so you know, car that tells stories, right? So here's the back here. I relocated the battery as well last winter, putting that in the back, getting ready for the turbo. Just had a crappy 6x9s. I mean, really, the music's in the car anyway, the engine. It's just storage underneath here. So got all this carpeted. This factory would have been metal with like a carpet that is overlaid, wasn't glued. So that's way nicer. Factory carpet was like a brown too, so that was hideous. Yeah, so that's the back. Oh yeah, she's a hatch too, which makes it little more harder to find parts for. They don't really make hatches anymore. You can buy fiberglass ones, but you're not going to find a new metal one. The only kind of old body issue, I think this car was painted in the 90s. I think it's just an old school stage 1 paint. I've waxed it to the point that it can't take it anymore. It's getting pretty thin, so you get what you get. This is old Bondo here, so that'll have to get fixed. Yeah, and here's this side. Nothing special. Same as the other side. Just this is the drinker side of the captain side. Roof is actually really good shape. Has one little rip up between the sun visors. Honestly, not a big deal. Oh, actually, there's a little more in the back there. I just noticed. But you know what? It stays up. Stays out of my eyes. There's no mice in it, so you can't ask for better. Yeah, that's pretty much the car. Like I said, this winter's big plans for it, so stay tuned for that. If you guys have any questions, comments, let me know. I'll gladly answer them. Any questions, how the install went, what I ended up using, the hooker header, engine mounts, or trans cross member. It all bolted right up. Honestly, it was a simple kit. Just bolt it in and go. Driveline angles are all good. You don't have to worry about it then if you do the kit. A lot of people use the dingo slide mounts, but I just bought the kit meant for the car, meant for the engine. Bolted right up. Side tinge window and back is 5%. Windshield is 50%. Honestly, I think it's perfect. Just enough for a black car to have. So when I bought the car, buddy had a 350 in it with NOS. Hence why the engine was blown when I bought it. He had engine fire. Obviously, he had a hole. Uncle Rodney came through the side of the block and she backfired through the carb and burned the hood a little bit, the paint. So kind of left that on there so far as a souvenir until I go to redo it. That's it. This will be the build through the winter. Just waiting on my turbo kit to be here. It's supposed to be here like 3 months ago, but still have to make the hot side, I guess. If you guys have any comments, questions, anything like that, like, subscribe, follow along with this build. And as long as with my truck build, that'll be a bigger build in the spring, but this will be my winter one. Okay, well, see you guys.